taught us valuable lessons, and today I'll discuss the reasons that led us to take this step, the challenges we faced along the way, benefits we gained, and practical tips we've learned as well. As I've mentioned already, my name is Dimitris Syrros. I'm a front-end engineer at the Redux Group, and I hope this story of problem solving, of collaboration, of growth resonates with you, whether you're reimagining legacy systems of your own or diving into new solutions. So let's take a look at the agenda. What do we have for today's session? We'll start by exploring the limitations of Redux Form and the reasons behind our migration. Then I'll walk you through the challenges we faced during the process and the benefits we gained. I'll share our migration timeline, a small code sample so you can get a taste of what we've been working on, and finish the presentation with some practical tips that helped us with our transition. So starting off, why we moved away from Redux Form. A decision like this is kind of hard decision because, as you can imagine, such a migration takes a considerable amount of effort from our side, from our dev side. First of all, the library is not actively maintained. It's effectively deprecated, making it harder to stay up to date with the latest React version. Moreover, Redux Form required heavy boilerplate, making our code harder to read and maintain. Furthermore, Redux Form is tied to an outdated logic because it was designed for class components and global state, and this doesn't align with the latest React practice right now. Additionally, the implementation is prone to performance issues, specifically in larger forms, and overall it has a larger packet size compared to React Form. Now, having discussed the limitation of Redux Form, you can imagine that our decision to migrate stemmed from several compelling reasons. Firstly, React Hook Form is actively maintained, meaning that we can update the latest React version with more ease. RHF, I'm going to use RHF for React Hook Form, so bear with me. RHF integrates seamlessly with modern tools we currently use in our project, such as GraphQL and TypeScript. This effort, if you will, effectively help us future-proof our code base. Just as important, we reduced our boilerplate, of course, with the help of RHF's simpler API. We've managed to reduce our code, making it simpler, more readable, and at the end of the day, easier to maintain. Remember, less code, less problems. In addition, RHF is designed for functional hooks-based components and fits naturally with modern React. Last but not least, this implementation does boost performance by reducing renders and leveraging local state, which it does quite efficiently because it's using its own form provider, state management provider. Yeah. However, as I mentioned before, this migration wasn't without its difficulties. You can imagine that changing our forms implementations throughout the site and adopting a different logic in large-scale projects, such as ours, is an undertaking on its own, without considering that this work had to be done in parallel with our product's development. First of all, training was an effort with over 40 developers across 6 countries, across 6 teams, and 3 countries, having to adapt to React Form's API. Moreover, we had to rewrite a lot of our form logic, including how inputs work, how validation works, how error handling works, and for some commission. We had to decouple existing Redux dependencies that our components and our wrappers had with the store, with the Redux store, and rewrite these tightly coupled components. Last but not least, coordination was key, as was rigorous testing to ensure no disruption to our business logic and avoid creating problems in our own production and having to roll back to previous versions and stuff like that. Um, Even with the challenges we faced, we are proud to say that our hard work paid off. Developer experience has improved significantly as more readable and simpler code base made our day-to-day work easier. In addition, the whole process helped us to foster better engagement and skill development among our developers. Furthermore, we can now safely say that our product is faster and lighter, and we've embraced a more modern, maintainable mindset, leveraging hooks from our form setup and state management. This migration also aligned perfectly with our ongoing efforts to integrate TypeScript into our code base, making RHF a wonderful addition in our code base. Now, let's take a bit and discuss how this all came to be. So here's how the migration unfolded. Early in 2024, we began discussing the transition, investigating possible Redux Form library replacements like Formic, in order to find what fits our needs best and which library is going to help us better align with future needs as well. This investigation was our very first challenge, as it is a decision that would affect us a lot in the years to come. Secondly, it was important to communicate that such an undertaking would have to happen in tandem with the rest of our development. It would span for a long time, and this meant that we had to get approval from our products team. By mid-year, we allocated a month for the training period for all devs. During this time, some developers educated themselves on React Hook Form, and the game plan started to form in order to start a more phased migration. In-house workshops were organized where individuals with previous knowledge of React Hook Form educated those who were new to it. Since then, all new forms have been built using React Hook Form, and as far as our old forms were concerned, we started with a phased migration plan, beginning with the less impactful form and then trying on some more serious forms. Now, most of our highly used forms have been successfully migrated. Yeah, for us. So, moving on. Yeah. So let's look at some code. I don't know if you can see it pretty well, but even without understanding the code, you can see a difference in size. On the left, you see the boilerplate heavy implementation with Redux Form, the way we used to work. And on the right, you see React Hook Form's approach, which is noticeably cleaner and more concise. You can notice that the validation, the way it's done with React Hook Form, it's just an inline required true, and you don't have to you don't actually have to deal with the meta object as we used to do with Redux Form, which is more cumbersome, let's say. You don't need a high order component. You don't need a wrapper to wrap around your actual component like we do in the Redux Form implementation, where you can see that the field, the Redux Form field, wraps around the select field, which it makes it simpler, easier to maintain, and if you remember from previously, minimizes the re-renders. So it's also faster. Here I've compiled a table which pretty much describes what I've already said to you about field connection, that you don't need the wiring, about being a custom component, you don't need to wrap it with input or meta objects because you don't need them anymore. The error handling, the validation, it's much simpler. You don't need format and normalize or any external functions. The validation is just one line, just see it right here. And as far as state is concerned, you don't have to tie it up to a Redux store. You can only use form context, which is provided by the forms provider, and you'll be fine. To wrap up, because I know you're tired, a lot of people talked today. I don't know if my English are comprehensible. What?
It's very interesting.
Thank you. We'll have a Q&A right after this one, which is a short one. So yeah, to wrap up, here are some tips from our experience. First, conduct an audit of your forms to identify reusable components. In our example, we had a date picker. It was in many forms. It was kind of hard to not duplicate code, but also don't use it, don't make changes that affect other forms. Plan a phased migration. Start with low impact forms to validate your process. Comprehensive testing is critical. Update unit and integration tests. And manually, I can stress this enough, you need manual testing as well, because you need to verify those edge cases that only we who work on our products know, and hopefully no one else ever finds out. And supreme alignment with training workshops and detailed documentation. Lastly, consider using compatibility layers to allow using both libraries and making them coexist for a little while, so you can have more time doing the transition right. That was pretty much it. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. Yeah.
Coming from a backend environment where maybe this question will sound funny to you, is Redux different with Redux Form?
So Redux is the store that holds all the values, and Redux Form is actually a library for form setup.
Based on that.
Yeah, which uses Redux store. So now you don't need to have Redux, because with React Hook Forms you have your own form provider, and it's not coupled with a global Redux state.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
I'll do the end.
End, right?
Yeah.
I'm always scared to click the big red button.
Just turn off the computer.
Never open it again, right? Get a new
Leave
one.
it here and leave the building.
Come on, dude.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, but I think, like, if you close the window,
Um,
no.
You did what?